The fear of the opposite sex and the realization of how to handle them will determine how long you will live on this earth.
Okay.
Well, trust, people say, I trust my partner. How can you trust what you cannot control? For example, you can only trust your editing software to always follow the command it was built for.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I know you guys have to now think about this, but for real, you can only trust your editing software to give you that same command, but you can't trust anybody else. So the opposite sex is always a question. So what do you reckon? What do you take? What's your take on this?
Yeah. For me, I believe that trust is actually something that touches on two things. For me, it's something that touches on, risk and faith. For me to trust someone, I have to give something out, like in faith now and all of that. So, but I really, really fear women, and suggest that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you pick up, right?
And I really suggest that the fear of them is actually the beginning of wisdom.
Straight up, because how can you handle them will determine how long you will live on this earth. You see, how you handle them determines how long you will live on this earth. It might be a male, it might be a female. People say, I trust my partner.
Yeah.
That's what you hear from people all the time. Yeah. I trust my partner. How can you trust what you cannot control? Because really and truly, am I going to really trust what I cannot control? What's your take on all of this?
For the fact that most people depend on money, they trust money more than anything. For example, Upfront, you live by money, you trust your money, and it works for you.
Wow.
I want you to also have an open mind, right? That in terms of trusting the opposite sex, you as a person, there's certain things you need to understand concerning a woman. You need to understand that women were very special, right? And if you find a woman who has common sense, and is able to communicate with you, understand, and also loyal, those three things alone, it's not easy to find in one person. So the trust to come in.
That means you will need to have three people to have these three
You're
things.
not getting what I'm saying.
Sorry.
Look at this is just an example.
Wow.
I just said, right, that we women are special. And you find a woman who is loyal, who understands, and who can communicate, right?
Word.
You should learn to trust that person. Human beings, you can't even trust yourself.
That's what I'm saying, that the only trust I would have is what you can control is what? Your editing software. Because we trust, when you say trust is just simple word. I trust you. But it's simple. It's just a word, trust. But you see, when you talk about a software, or when you talk about a program that you can control, is already programmed. That's the only thing that is constant. Every other thing that we do with me or you or trust or whatever is based on trust. And trust can be altered. So the moral of this conversation is, I said, how to handle them will determine how long you live on this earth. That means this is the effect we humans can do to one another. It can be a man, it can be a woman. That's why it says the opposite sex. But the bottom line stands that as long as you put trust and it's the opposite sex, to me, is not guaranteed.
That's what I'm trying to let you know. This is human being, not object, not technology. Those things are programmed. I'm just telling you now so that you can have your sanity and live long. Once you have an opposite sex, right? There are basic things you watch out for. You are not complete. Are you perfect?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not. That's why I could bring this up. So I mean, we've heard what he's saying. I mean, this argument is not just that straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, like you've clearly stated, you cannot trust what you cannot control. I mean, so but that's why trust comes in. At the end of the day, it's good to be cautious with the opposite sex and tread carefully. I've experienced some female, because I'm a male, so the opposite sex for me naturally is a female, who have some really, really, grudgy heart, hard to forget, and you'd be shocked what a lady can even exhibit.
Okay,
So I fear that
the
that
bottom
aspect.
line is, can you really trust your partner?
Yes, you can.
Fine.
Yes, you
Stay
can.
calm. You can trust your partner. You can trust your partner. I really can't trust my partner. And I'm not trying to, hold on, I'm not trying to convince you or anything. It's just a question I put together. So it depends on you listeners. If you can trust your partner, it's fine. But you see, this question is the fear of the opposite sex and the realization of how to handle them will determine how long you live, because handling the opposite sex is all many people live for. Because if you are living with a partner, you're living with someone completely different from you, different DNA, different species. So there's always something to deal with. If you're lucky that you met the one that you don't have to deal with so much, you're in good hands. But most of the case, there's always something to deal with.
That really brings it home, because at the end of the day, this has now been put in frame. People are in one relationship or another, apart from just the general balance that is expected.
Yeah.
The ability for you to really, 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 either trust or fear, because it has to go on one end.
Yes.
That now comes as a judgment that you can now use as a yardstick for relating.
Thank you.
Either of them can make you live long.
Exactly.
It's either you trust your partner or you fear them well enough that can channel your, at the end of the day, you want to achieve a long life.
Yes.
A goal.
Okay, now, so I love that, because it says the fear of the opposite sex
Very.
can, is what you need to know if it's, if you can handle it. But the fear of the opposite sex is the realization of how to handle them. So when you realize your partner, that means you've literally solved half of the case. When you realize who
Very
your
well.
partner is. But that realization is not the problem, because most time we are still struggling to realize who our partner is, and it's 20 years. We still haven't really grabbed a hold of the partner, because every day he or she is exhibiting something new. So we can pound all day.
So I just want to highlight that as much as realizing your partner is very fantastic, it's also much more apt to realize oneself.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think that is the first.
Can you realize?
Thank you.
To me, I'm thinking that the assumption is that you've realized yourself, therefore you want to even
Realize your partner.
realize, because that assumption
Have you-
we move from.
Have you realized your partner? You see, again, we said, so wait 1 minute. I know words in your mouth, but see, we are playing with the word realization.
Yes, it's a very key word.
Yes, and for you to be able to conquer that, you must have realized your partner. So if you have realized your partner, that means trust is obviously there. Because of realization.
we move,
I'm
yeah.
asking a question. Have you realized your
Obviously,
partner?
yes.
But it's easy for me to say yes, they have realized. And what if your partner has been tricking you? Because there's so much tricks. So as long as it's the opposite sex, someone is tricking it. Either the male is tricking it or the female is tricking it.
Do you trust anybody?
Come on, let's ask the
Do
question.
you trust anybody?
No, you see why I will not trust anybody, because the person is not mechanically driven. That's why the word says you can only trust your editing software to always follow the command.
It has been built.
So I mean, you can pound all day.
Like
We have 2 minutes.
That just solves and answers all the questions, because you can't trust anyone. So you don't see any reason or how to actually trust the next person. And I'm
Wow.
trying to let you know that you can, in the
Wow.
sense that when you find a woman with the opposite sex and she's loyal,
No,
it's
but
not
we've said that. You said that. You said that. I understand that. It's fine. So for those that understand what Ms. V is saying, kudos. Now, what's your final take on
I
this?
wanted to pick on the word you said, and the importance of the word realization, because it's always said in it was a renowned philosopher that says, "Man, know thyself." And then I remember to bring it home. Sometime I was asked when I went to for my wife's hand in marriage, for example, I was asked, she was asked, "Do you know him? Do you know this man?" They didn't ask if you love this man. I think that knowledge, it will help you to now know this person na fear. Now you can bring yours back.
So what was your answer when they asked? Do you know?
No, I was not the one that was being asked. She was being asked.
She said what?
They were asking her that if she knows that man.
She said yes,
I mean, because it was not like if you love him. I think the knowledge.
Yes.
So that
What was the answer?
of course, yes. If not, we will not be where we are
So
now.
you see,
For example.
hello. As I said, I wish we can go on about this because to me it's a really interesting topic. Unfortunately, we can't. We don't have time in our hands. But bottom line is we all have our knowledge. We can listen to everyone and you make your pick of this. The bottom line is the fear is where we are fighting today.
So to wrap up, right? I want to just say that you have to know someone to a certain degree. It cannot be someone's friend without knowing someone that will help you. Bottom line.
What?
I need to trust somebody in this
Word.
Word.